Hello everyone and welcome to this Pubisode. In this edition of the Infinite Escape Room, we sit down, have a drink and discuss last week's room. We go into detail on why I chose to lavishly describe every single feature of the path up to the escape room and then spend almost no time describing the room itself. We then move on to how you can rifle a bow and arrow, the English weakness for morally corrupt but charming upper-class leaders, and finally, road safety, and why banning bicycle helmets could perversely make us all safer. Enjoy! Welcome everybody to the Holy Head, the creepy pub at the end of the lane where the dead go to drink. There are poltergeists over in the corner there, throwing stools at each other invisibly, as well as your standard ghosts and ghouls popping in for a pint and then dribbling us all over the floor. And here we are. So, my round, what are we having?
Rattlers.
Rattlers. What is that, Alan?
This is a Cornish cider, cloudy cider.
So Cornish cider that's dry, isn't it? That's a dry cider. Then. Like a scrumpy?
Yeah, like a scrumpy.
Why is it cider with a Y? Is that like it's not actual proper cider, so we have to write it with a Y?
Oh, it is.
It's because it's cool. Look how zany it is. They've got a snake.
It's really cool.
But the snake just looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
I know.
It's what they would drink if they drank.
It is really nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You rate it among the ciders?
Very highly.
Fair enough. Dom, what are you drinking?
I am drinking mead that is homemade by someone I know.
Ooh.
I don't know if you can see, but there is some sediment to it.
I gotta say, Dom, if you said that was a urine sample, I'd believe you.
If it was a urine sample, I would say that's pretty good going because it's fairly clear.
It's it's well hydrated. It's very dry.
Oddly, for something so well hydrated.
It's very dry and not very sweet, which I like in anything wine related.
So I'm confused. I thought the whole point of I've not really tried mead, but I thought the whole point of it was that it was sweet.
No, the whole point of it is that it's brewed with honey.
I see. So it's the process rather than the product. Okay, interesting. Onikos, what do you got there?
I am drinking a delicious pint of elderflower cordial.
You know how to live.
It would be a pina colada, but I don't have anything in the back of my cupboard apart from bags of polenta and stuff.
That's a beautiful callback.
You're very welcome.
At the back of my fridge, this has been languishing here for a while, and I'm not sure how I feel about these. I'm drinking one of those pre-mixed JD and Cokes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is it nice?
It is.
He said with a giant question mark.
Well, it is nice, but at the same time...
Do they tell you what the ratio is on the can?
They tell you the alcohol percentage because they have to, and it's 5%. So I think the ratio is probably pretty low.
Presumably it's quite good for a 330ml can. That's going to be a shot, right?
Well, the alcohol mixed drink with Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey, 12.5%, and Coca-Cola, 87.5%. So there you are. There's the ratio. It's 12.5% JD.
Oh, I was going to say, JD is only 12.5%.
No. They mean the ratio in the can.
Oh, I see.
Percentage
I was going to say,
alcohol of the whiskey.
That is a pretty terrible bourbon, yeah.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, JD is a pretty terrible bourbon. I think is that okay to say?
Yep. Yeah, we can say it. Bourbon is a terrible whiskey, and JD is a terrible bourbon.
Whoa. Dominic.
It's the worst of the worst. We can say it. It's all right.
Dominic, no, I won't have that on this show. Good bourbon is delicious.
No, the only good bourbons are the biscuits.
I would also say it is the only whiskey that it's okay to drink with ice. I think that's fair.
No, I think cheap.
If you put ice in other whiskey, you're just wrong.
Cheap Scotch, like Bell's or something, that you're drinking just to be drinking rather than drinking for the enjoyment. You can put ice in that if you want.
Welcome to Dom's Alcoholic Diaries.
Here's Dom, and he has some strong opinions on stuff.
It's the mead.
When I was 18 years old, my girlfriend lived with her granddad, and he was a big whiskey man, and he had 2 bottles of whiskey, and he'd have 1 shot of the good stuff, and then it was Tesco's value for the rest of the evening. And his argument was that after 1 shot, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't quite do it like that, but I don't think that's too far off. I think once you're drunk, put away the good stuff, because you're just going to keep putting it in your throat. You're not really going to notice it. You're thinking about other things. Yeah, if you want to drink decent Scotch, I was going to say decent whiskey, but then John would probably think I meant bourbon. If you want to drink decent Scotch, then just have that on its own. And then if you want to get drunk, drink something else.
I could get behind that. But then you could probably apply that to everything. Probably apply it to wine.
No.
Probably apply it to water.
Wine's only good for getting drunk with, let's be honest.
If it's a bad bottle of wine, it's not worth drinking.
We're slowly angling for that 19 Crimes sponsorship deal.
That's good wine.
Oh, it's such
That's good
I
wine.
can't beat that wine. I still have not found anything that beats it.
It's good wine. I hope you're out there, 19 Crimes. I hope you're listening.
I don't
want
think
that
they
cork.
need. They don't need it though, do they? They don't need our
No, they don't
our
need-
evangelism. They're doing fine.
They've got an Aldi ripoff,
Which is horrible.
which is horrible. But I feel
So
like
that's the 20th crime, is it?
No, it's what's it called, John? It's something like the
It's like-
unspeakables or something like that.
Or unpardonables or something. Like it's something really lame.
And you can tell they're sort of close in flavour,
And the label's a bit.
and the labels
close.
are very similar, but the price is the same, if not more.
And the taste is awful.
You can see what they've tried to emulate, and it's just not quite there.
I genuinely believe that if you have a brand of any kind or a specific product that you do of any kind, and Aldi does a rip-off of your product, complete with sort of faux branding that's like yours, you have arrived.
You've made it, yeah.
That's the ultimate compliment.
Although I actually prefer Stackers to Pringles.
Get out.
Is that the Aldi rip-off Pringles?
Yeah.
Now, speaking of massive compliments, let's discuss the room that you guys just did.
Okay, give us our massive compliment for getting through it then.
So the massive compliment I owe to you guys is that you actually completed it missing one of these solves.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Which is a bit annoying for me because I set up the room geographically very carefully so that this was possible to do in a certain way, and then you solved it anyway because I didn't make one of the elements of it tough enough, which annoys me. But at the same time, much props to you, and main prop have to go to Onikos for starting that one off. It was the solve of combining the spiral and the letter grid.
Yeah.
And the reason you guys started to get that was because Onikos found... Didn't you find Bullet?
I found Bullet, yeah.
Yeah.
You found Bullet, and that got you guys staring into the letter grid and using that as a beginning, and you found quite quickly a bullet in my place, which you weren't supposed to find. The idea was that you would use the levers to hold the two doors open and then look in the mirror and see the spiral reflected back from the other side of the room. That's why the spiral was giant and the mirror was just a normal size. But I realized as we were getting to that part, I realized, oh fuck, I forgot to reverse the spiral.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked.
No.
It would have been
Which means that having babbled on about it being a true mirror, Alid, like making sure that was the case, this would technically be wrong. And I'd already given you the spiral.
the thing that I think that my biggest question about the room in general was I don't understand how the phrase "a bullet in my place" helped us.
You were supposed to come to that once you got the spiral on top of the letter grid.
Right.
The spiral pattern is repeated on the lock of the cabinet, which you have just revealed.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd missed that point then.
To be fair, I just said it. I didn't give you another image, and maybe, given that I presented the first two as images, maybe I should have. I'll be honest, I ran out of time.
It was just because you
maybe
said
I should
fragile
have.
lock, and I was like, right, that means we're allowed to break it. And I was
Yeah,
like, right,
And then I'm in my element.
Without a mirror, then screw that. Let's break this lock.
Break everything.
it's so hard though, like describing something in a way that doesn't eliminate the possibility that it can be destroyed, because you want it to be destroyed, but doesn't also say, destroy me, I could be destroyed. It's really hard to find that line.
Yeah.
Because could you, like, break a really heavy metal lock like that with a musket ball? Probably not. But I needed it to happen.
Can I take some praise now for not trying to break every aspect of this puzzle?
You can. I mean, your desperation in finding elements to move around the room to jam the doors open was admirable.
Yeah, see, you should have put the armchair in there. You could have just said,
I
there
know.
are divots in the carpet where an armchair must have stood. And
Yeah, you're quite right. You're quite right, because having put that in there just to recreate the portrait scene, you guys then fixated on that as the target of a bullet in my place, completely understandably, in a way that I had not anticipated at all, because it also happened to be the last painting that you came to. So that was your natural conclusion.
It had to be.
I don't think we could have reached the paintings in a different order.
We had to have, yeah.
No, you are right. You are right. You couldn't have reached them in a different order.
You could have hung them in a different order, Jonathan.
I'll be honest, Onikos. I was writing sections
You were
of this
hanging them as we were playing, weren't you?
that had been wet paint signs all over this thing.
I did really like the element with the paintings. I thought that was with what he said, and knowing now how you like to hide vital clues in seeming setup at the beginning. As soon as he said something to us, I immediately wrote that down, and I thought that's going to be important, and I underlined it. And then I didn't look any higher than my drawings of the rooms again until right at the end when I was like paintings, and then I suddenly remembered that. But I did. I thought that was a really nice bit of a puzzle there.
Thank you.
I thought you worked that out really well, Dom, as well, because I was just, it took me a while after you'd already found the numbers and opened the cupboard to figure out how you'd done it, and you were like, oh, it's the not I, so it's whoever else is in the painting, count that.
But it's also, so Dom, the order that you went with there, where did you get that order?
So that wasn't the order we discovered them in, I don't think.
Correct.
It's also not the order of his... Is it the order? It was the order of his life, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's cradle to grave. That was how I did it.
Yes. Yeah.
The ones where him getting younger to older. And originally, I thought I might have to flip it because it said not I, not I. So again, it wouldn't be... So the first one would be not I.
Like I'd put in a double negative.
Yeah, so the first one would mean that it's not him, and the second one would mean that he didn't go cradle to grave. It should be round the other way.
Oh my God.
But so I thought I'd try the obvious one first, and luckily that was right.
Yeah, no, I feel like that would have been a cryptic layer too far
for you.
But yeah, no, nicely done. That was exactly how that whole section was supposed to work. So it was very pleasing to see that come together.
I think one thing I'm confused about was why we were there and why we only had half an hour to leave.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The time limit was very much a side show in this one.
I'm guessing Connor had somewhere else he had to be.
Connor had somewhere else to be.
Okay.
I should have had like Foxton's being ready to bulldoze the house with like a wrecking ball being revved up outside.
And then it would immediately burn down like the Crooked Pub.
Like the Crooked Pub. Oh. Not that I ever went there, but it's just sort of slightly sad that something so unique and so quaint and so nice would be.
It's also just so rare you see insurance fraud done quite so blatantly in the national news. It's like, oh, so we've just sold this and it's hit the national news. What should we do now? It's like, burn it down and knock it down. It's like, maybe wait till it's not actively in the minds of people who had never heard of it until yesterday. Maybe wait a week even, no.
Yeah, or run the business into the ground for,
exactly.
do
the honourable thing.
do something for a while before, crazy. And incredibly ham-fisted. But there we go. That's very much the sign of the times. You guys, you did a very good job there. I got a little bit worried when your fixation on finding a killer in the paintings deepened and deepened and deepened.
Oh, I still want to know who killed him.
Yes, it's a case of who done it.
Absolutely nothing.
I mean, it's Chekhov.
Connor's grandfather is there somewhere with a musket.
Great-great-grandfather, that's what I
Some of the people in the paintings, the only ones with guns had rifles, and yet he was murdered with a musket.
I mean, you might think if you were a suspicious sort or a cynical sort that I might have just forgotten that I'd written musket earlier on.
We know that he didn't do himself in because he then kind of locked himself in the cabinet.
So in the original idea for the room, he did do himself in. And he
dug his own grave, went inside, shot himself in the cupboard, and was just like, "Oh wait, hold on, I've missed a step here. How am I now going to get? Damn it!
Yeah, I've screwed this up.
I hope someone comes around in a few hundred years' time and solves this."
There was going to be a whole thing about the ghost shoots himself and is disappointed to find that he becomes a ghost.
A ghost.
And goes no further.
But also, so somebody had dug a grave for him.
Presumably
despite the fact that they couldn't find his body.
This is where all the plot holes get dug out.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll be honest.
There was a plot.
I just thought it was nice and sinister to be walking up the garden path and see a dug open grave that was then never filled, like overgrown.
I thought your narration, I started making notes and I stopped and just started enjoying it. The opening narration was very, very atmospheric. I enjoyed that. Especially the bit about the apple trees.
Thank you. I will try and find some creepy, suitable music to go over it.
Yeah, and the mist and the crunching of the gravel and...
Yeah, it was very visual, to be fair.
Mm.
And then when you get into the room, there is nothing in this room, guys.
There's no carpet. There's no furniture.
I just envisage flagstones. It's fine.
What does it look like? Miss Havisham's place. Don't know. Well, it doesn't matter.
Shut up and solve my room.
I've spent all my description powers.
Solve my incredibly Spartan puzzle when I spent far too long writing the introduction and got carried away.
Was that? I was going to say. So we were all waiting for an extra quarter of an hour. Was that time spent on the introduction? That
time was spent crafting the beautifully and accurately done spiral and letter grid. Which,
okay, so
your damning appraisal of
that. So the letter grid, I do have to ask. It's not. What program did you use that allowed
Paint.net? What?
I mean, it worked.
Me, Alex.
It worked.
It worked.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's just it's so. I assumed that gap before the fourth column would have to be relevant, just because we've got APY massive space M, BLE massive space N, UAC massive space I. It just seems. I'm just surprised that you've managed to do it so badly.
It cuts so deep. It really does.
I was impressed, John. It's fine.
And yet, I'm surprised at getting visual assets into the room at all.
You had two visual assets, and you had descriptions of the paintings. So.
Yes, we had descriptions, we had maps of the room, we had visual assets. I thought it was a really nice mix of various props, as it were.
Cool. Was there anything that you thought was unfair, or anything that you thought should have worked a different way, or should have been different, or you would change if you were running it?
I would still want to know who killed him.
Yeah, I would need there to be. If I'd done it, then there would have been a whodunit.
Yeah, we would have solved that riddle.
I'd want that payoff. I'd want to put the ghost to rest in a less literal and a more satisfying way.
Mm.
Oh, that is annoying.
I mean, you did ask. I wouldn't have.
No. It is.
It felt like a very satisfying puzzle to solve.
Yes. Yeah,
in general,
as a puzzle, it was very well built. But as a narrative, I feel like we're missing the payoff. And I look forward to it in the sequel, the story of George Ian. That was his name, wasn't it? You could say George Ian.
George Ian. George Ian.
Yeah, I liked how every painting it's a Georgian painting. I'm like, as opposed to.
I was going to say, there were so many times I was just like, oh man, I really wish I knew more about the Georgian era, because this seems like it's important.
He's really hammering this Georgian thing.
I mean, I was starting to think about the fashion. I was like, but surely the fashion has changed a lot since he was a baby to when he was an older man.
I suppose the question is,
probably diving too deep.
Are the guns accurate for the era in which it has taken place?
No, because they were rifles.
I mean, one of my paintings, I drew a girl with an AK-47, but you know.
Amazing. Yeah, at what point do we go from muskets to rifles and bullets? It's definitely before World War One.
The women in the hunting party, I don't think possibly. I don't know when. No, actually.
I think they would have.
Women went hunting in Elizabethan eras, but I don't know if they were allowed to go hunting with guns.
I think they would have.
Mm.
If anybody knows, then...
So a rifle is technically a type of musket. But...
Yeah, it's a musket with specifically it's with rifling, so it has this kind of spiral core, which would have really fitted for this.
The bullet post-dates the invention of the rifle, apparently.
Because they used them for skirmishing initially, because it was much more accurate but at a slower rate of fire, because they were much slower to load. It took much more effort to get the damn ball down the damn barrel.
It's like trying to screw on a lid that just won't catch.
Yeah. So they'd use them for skirmishes, as opposed to like snipers and stuff.
Okay, but that was in the 1840s. So, I mean, I'm not really big on the different dates of the English monarchy, but I don't think...
No, we're well into the Victorian era.
I don't think rifles existed in the Georgian era.
Damn it.
So that's another mystery for the sequel. How did
the rifles get into a Georgian?
George Ian.
Something. George Ian found out something.
Time travel.
George Ian invented the rifle and then was killed with it to steal his invention by Connor's grandfather.
Yeah, who then didn't actually bring the rifle out as a weapon of mass destruction until the 1840s, apparently. So he sat on that for
He waited until the American Revolution.
A good 40 years? Oh.
The Americans like to pay for things, so that was it. I don't know if that's
the Americans love to pay for things.
He sold to both sides. No, he probably only sold to the South because he probably had plantations.
That would be the Civil War. The Revolution was against the English.
Oh, I see. So you're talking about the Revolutionary War rather than the Civil War.
Yeah.
I was thinking because of the 1800s, I was thinking.
You know what?
Civil War.
I remember facts, not dates.
Signing of the Declaration of Independence was 1776, or at least that's when sort of America as a country celebrates its birth date.
Sorry, now I'm just looking at... so people have been rifling things since the 1440s.
Oh.
And even earlier than that, people were rifling...
What, for accuracy?
Yeah, and people were rifling the fletching of their arrows to give greater accuracy. So it's been going on a while.
Well.
So what is the rifling then exactly?
So rifling is when, so you've got smooth bore and you've got rifle. So smooth bore is when the gun barrel is just a tube, just a blank tube, and you slot the thing in, you fire it. Easy to load, but not very accurate. The rifling is almost like a screw thread, but a very, very gentle one. You engrave a spiral into it so that as the bullet or the ball starts to leave the gun, it starts to spin. And leaves spinning at a predictable rate, and that makes it travel through the air
faster,
more predictably.
Yeah, in a more of a straight line, basically.
And so they used to
accurate.
And they used to rifle their arrows.
The fletching, they would basically give it spiral fletching so that the arrow spun as it flew, which means it's more likely to dig through the air in a straight line than go off at a funny angle.
Oh, I did not know that.
I just learned it on Wikipedia.
I knew that fletching was a thing, but I didn't know that they tried rifling it. That's fascinating. So that's where the idea came from. Very cool fact. Very cool fact. Is anyone coming in hot?
Beg your pardon?
No.
Are you coming in cross about anything or wanting to vent about something? Oh, come on, Onikos. You're cross about everything all of the time.
I'm too tired to be crossed right now. I'm crossed out. Is that a thing?
That is...
I mean, or I'm just so perpetually angry about everything all the time that I can't. I didn't realize. You didn't tell me to prepare a hot take. Yes, I got a message yesterday. I think it was in the evening, a message from Jonathan just saying, "On a goes. Will you do the podcast tomorrow?" So he seemed very prepared. I think actually that's more notice than you've ever given me, John. So thank you for that.
It's more notice than he gave himself, apparently, because he was still writing it 10 minutes after we were supposed to start.
I think John actually is ready on time, but he doesn't dare turn up on time because everyone expects him not to. So he just sits there going, "No, not yet. No."
It's the mystique of John. Is that what you're saying?
If I'm late, I can claim my puzzle was half baked. So if they find holes in it, I've got an out.
It's the Boris Johnson strategy for escape room creation. Develop a persona of kind of ruffled, charismatic. Don't throw up your drink.
Sorry, I almost did a spit take there.
When are you going to try this, John?
Actually, on that subject, do you know about the speech, the Boris Johnson speech?
Yeah.
No.
You know about this, Alex? Do you know about this?
I do not.
The speech? Okay, so this was it Jeremy Vine, Aled, who wrote this?
I'm not sure.
I think it was.
Alan told me about it.
So basically, way back when, like a few years ago, Jeremy Vine is at an awards ceremony for some bullshit financial instrument thing, really, really dull conference where there's going to be, awards. Everyone's sat around tables drinking bad wine. Not drinking 19 Crimes, please sponsor us, and having a bad time. And Jeremy Vine is the opening speaker, and he's supposed to introduce the local MP, Mr. Boris Johnson, to give out the award. And Mr. Boris Johnson is not here yet, and Jeremy Vine has to go on in 7 minutes and introduce him. So he's starting to panic now. Anyway, with 4 minutes to go, Boris Johnson appears, an absolute dishevelled mess, sits down, and says, "Oh no, not Prince Philip, not Prince Philip."
It was close enough.
Hello. What's all this about? And appears to not know even where he is, let alone what he's supposed to do. The other guests around the table, with horror, tell him that this is an award for, and it genuinely was, for credit default swaps, which was the financial instrument that brought about the 2008 crash.
Nice.
So believe it or not, Boris Johnson has a loose connection to that. Anyway, and he he doesn't know what one of those is, so they explain it to him, and he grabs a piece of paper and he starts scribbling a few notes down, but the notes make no sense. The notes are like Margaret, sheep, a few things. Jeremy Vine thinks this is going to be a disaster. He goes on stage, does his bit, introduces Boris Johnson. Johnson walks on stage up to the pedestal and then appears to completely freeze up. And then he says, welcome everyone to the... and then he turns around and looks at the banner behind him to figure out what the name of the conference is. And somebody starts to laugh. He then cracks this other joke about a sheep farmer, and people laugh more at how sort of semi-irrelevant it is. He fiddles with his notes, starts sort of doing his clowny thing, and people are falling about thinking he's hilarious. He refers to the award that he has to give out as this sort of a lozenge. Yeah, it's a disaster, but everybody laughs, and everybody thinks he's very, very funny, and he goes and sits back down. And Jeremy Vine thinks, wow, I've just watched this guy get through that by the skin of his teeth. Several years later, Jeremy Vine finds himself once again at a conference for a completely different product. And once again, the main speaker is Boris Johnson. And once again, with 7 minutes to go, Boris is not here. And he turns up with about 5 minutes to go and asks them where he is and does exactly the same thing again. Beat for beat, point for point, joke for joke. All of it. He had one speech and a sort of odd character framed in it. He got the same laughs with the same lines again, needing no content about where he actually was and nothing of substance at all. And this man, this very obvious fraud, was our Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
That feels like, is it Jerzy Kosinski, the book, Being There? Is it Being There? Where there's this guy and he's lived all his life.
Oh, I've seen the film with.
I think there's a film of it.
Yeah.
And he's lived all his life on this estate, and then one day the old man whose estate it is,
he was the gardener, dies. I think, was he?
He was the gardener, exactly. And they find him and they go, "Oh, who are you?" And he goes, "I'm Chauncey." "Oh, what do you mean, Chauncey what?" And he goes, "Chauncey Gardner." And then I don't know how it happens, but basically they completely blow him out of proportion. And he just, everywhere they take him, he just says random things that just come to mind because he has no idea. He's not ever been exposed to any of the world outside of the estate. Life. Yeah, he's lived there his entire life, never left the estate. And
everyone he just gets onto him, basically.
Yeah.
But the difference is Chauncey Gardner didn't know what he was doing, whereas Boris Johnson
knows exactly what the fuck he's doing. It's terrifying.
He's got a public persona, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's kind of really clever then, because if he has all the same beats and the same speech and everything. So there is a skill there, and it's not just an actual bumbling idiot. And that's the terrifying thing about it, is that he puts on this whole, one is but a bumbling idiot.
But he also thinks he's extremely clever, and I don't think he's that either. I think he's just a common moron who's come up with enough clever things to get by, like people who learn enough jokes to seem funny. So long as they keep meeting new people. But then if they keep meeting the same people, they quickly run out of jokes because it turns out they're not actually witty. They've just memorized 15 jokes.
He's clever enough to think he's clever.
Yes, he definitely thinks he's clever.
And those 15 jokes of his have been worked enough that he's managed to impregnate however many women he's managed to impregnate, which just always baffles me.
I can only assume
blows my mind.
They are just complete non-entities, those women. I can't otherwise imagine why they'd ever do that to themselves.
No, I disagree. I disagree completely with you there, Don. I think those women are representative of our country at large, because our country at large has allowed itself to be repeatedly fucked by a man who confused charisma for character. And we do that over and over.
Yeah.
We are suckers.
Oh, wait, which one did Liz Truss have?
Ooh. But especially when it comes to class, like we'll take upper class charisma and we will confuse it for character. really, really easily. We're suckers for that as a nation.
Well, you say it's
a
we,
massive vulnerability.
but look at Donald Trump.
As a nation, maybe, but if you want me coming in hot, then fuck all the Tories.
Welcome to our Tory listeners.
Welcome to our Tory listeners, both of them. Hello, Giles and Giles.
Don't forget Nigel.
Yeah, we as a nation have a tremendous weakness for that. A class-based weakness for just a charismatic posh boy. And I say that.
You say that as a charismatic posh boy.
I say that as a charismatic posh boy. Like, I never went to private school. I never went to anywhere like that. But you can get away with that kind of persona. You can get away with a lot more than you should be able to get away with.
By being well-spoken.
By being well-spoken. By being well-spoken and sort of affable.
And white and male.
And white and male.
And rich.
Oh, no, on a coast is very different.
But it's interesting because this whole mystique of, the upper class Brit, that's very much sort of the sort of stereotype that I think a lot of countries have of the British. And that's sort of when we think, the nice tea drinking Brit. We think of that kind of upper class.
But it's not
white male with lots of privilege and lots of money.
The upper class Brit are the ones who want a return to the empire now, who see the after effects of the terrors of colonialism and just like, we are fading as a nation. We need to conquer more countries once again.
We need to go.
We need to bring more people sports we can lose at.
Oh, that's a painful one today.
I have no idea what sport happened today. I occasionally watch ice hockey.
It was the Women's World Cup
final.
Oh, okay. Wait, I thought the English women were doing well. Who did they get beaten by?
Spain
in the final.
Oh, okay. Well done, Spain.
And on that note, I think it's last orders.
I'm just happy people are speaking about women's football. That's nice.
I mean, you and the entirety of women's football is happy about this.
I mean that. Yeah, I mean that completely sincerely. That's very good.
Because at the moment, certainly, I do not know much about football, so I may misspeak here terribly. But the way I hear it get spoken about, it's it's a better game being played in the women's game, as in there's less throwing yourself on the floor. As if less diving, thank you.
Yeah.
Less screwing around, less stupid money, turning everything toxic. Yeah, just less corruption, less bad.
It's the same with ice hockey.
And I'm waiting.
So to men's ice hockey, you have the forcing of people, checking, you have the fights, etc. But it's a full contact sport. But women's ice hockey doesn't have those same. You can't check someone. Definitely no fights. Basically none of the violence, and as a result, they play much better ice hockey because they can't rely on just being able to basically hit someone, and it's a much more enjoyable sport to watch.
It's like a metaphor for women in general, because we can't fight physically. We're having to find other ways to.
Oh, you can fight physically.
Oh no, I know we can.
Alid, I feel like there's a story there for another podcast.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Alid to raise the shirt and show the scars.
No, I've just seen a game of women's American football and just been amazed at how brutal it is.
Yeah, but American football, and I'm sorry in advance, Americans, for what I'm about to say.
It really sucks.
Apologies.
It's the slowest game in the world.
First of all,
why are all American sports so slow?
Well, they're slow because you see the ambulance on the side and you think, oh, that's just in case. But no, the ambulance is on the pitch every 30 seconds because there's injuries every 30 seconds.
But the reason there's injuries every 30 seconds is because they're wearing so much body armor, they just slam into each other without any heed for their own safety at all. They just run at each other, full pelt, like 250-pound guys going wham together and at full speed, which you don't do, even in men's rugby, you don't do that because you won't have a shoulder anymore. It's the illusion of protection makes things worse somehow because you then act as if you're invulnerable.
Oh, there you go.
There's a weird segue.
Yeah, to SUVs. No?
Well, to SUVs and to road safety. So, I mean, SUVs, the illusion of protection,
and the illusion of quality as well. But people driving SUVs, I hate you too.
There's a lot of people lining up on your list now, Dom.
Get out of that car and buy something better. Your children do not need to be in a Jeep. Come on.
But what I was actually going to bring up was cycling and helmets and the illusion of protection. So there's this really weird argument you can make that there is a public health good to be found by banning bike helmets.
They did a survey, didn't they? And they noticed that people drive closer to people who are wearing bike helmets than people who aren't.
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Yeah, genuinely.
Yep.
Is that how you're less likely to get hit if you've got a learner sticker on your car because everyone's going to avoid you?
If you're driving, you see a cyclist with no helmet on, you will behave more cautiously because you feel like they're vulnerable. But if you take the difference in other road user behavior, the difference in car behavior, and then add it to the extra people who would cycle more if helmets weren't a thing, and that is a number that you can figure out, and it's a significant number.
Wait, why?
There's a public health good argument to not having bicycle helmets.
So wait, people don't cycle because of helmets?
Yeah. There's a proportion of people
because it doesn't look cool.
I don't know how this can be figured out, but you can get the numbers on roughly how many more people would cycle around everywhere if you didn't have to wear bicycle helmets in this country.
Have you got to wear bicycle helmets?
For more, you?
No, you don't.
I don't think there's not a law. The cops won't stop you, but you're supposed to. For evidence here, I will turn to our Dutch participant in the land of the bicycle.
Yes, where nobody wears a helmet because it's not compulsory. But apparently in the 70s, a lot of people were dying from cycling-related accidents because cars weren't paying attention, which is when the rule came in and they changed the law that anyone who's going straight ahead on a road, if a car is coming alongside you and wants to turn in across your path, basically, they have to wait. They have to bloody wait, which finally has now become a thing here in England as well. I don't feel like a lot of... Yes. Oh, see, yeah. I was just going to say, segue into...
It was quite recent.
So pedestrians now also have right of way. Yeah, at a crossing, pedestrians have right of way. If they are crossing, you have to wait as a car driver. You have to wait for the pedestrians. I think you also have to wait for the cyclist.
Yeah,
but the other thing that they changed in the Netherlands, sort of in terms of law, is that whenever there is an incident between a car and a bike,
it's the car's fault.
It is at least half the car's fault. Whatever happened, even if the car is standing still and the cyclist just rams straight into the car, it is the car's fault, at least 50% of it. And so that sort of legally has changed a lot of...
Whereas in the UK, fun fact, if you want to murder someone and get away with it successfully, is to run over a cyclist in a car, because you are more likely to get let off than any other method of killing.
Particularly if you're an upper-class person driving a Land Rover.
There it is.
Boom. And on that note, I think it's time for us all to go back to our beds.
Back in my box.
You say back to our beds as if that's where we crawled from to do this podcast, and now we're going to go back.
John assumes no one exists, really, until he needs them.
I've summoned you. Come here.
Me and Boris, that's how we live our lives. I think we'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Onikos, Dom, Alad, thank you very much for joining me. And thank you, dear listener, if you are still with us after Highway Code Chat, chapters 1, 2, and 3.
It depends on whether you edit it out or not.
We'll see. Dear listener, if you're still with us, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time on the Infinite Escape Room.
Bye now.
Bye.